Another day, another batch of trailers. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Omni viewer, and there have been a lot of trailers for upcoming movies that were released over the weekend, and a couple that I just need to catch up on. So I'm going to do a little roundup. I'm going to give my thoughts on pretty much all of them in this little video. So let's start with the one that I still say is long overdue and should have come to us years ago. Wonder Woman. We're finally getting a Wonder Woman movie, and we finally got the first trailer. And admittedly, it doesn't show that much, but what it does show really has me excited. I think Wonder Woman looks like it's going to be good. Granted, I also say that as one of the few people who actually doesn't hate the DC movies so far, but even people who do hate the DC movies seem to be saying the Wonder Woman movie looks good. The costume looks good. It looks like it'll be an interesting story based on what little information we've got. I must say, though, I'm especially intrigued by the World War I setting, because I don't know if I'm setting myself up here by saying all of this, but there's a lot of potential for setting Wonder Woman in World War I. Because World War I, let's see, Wonder Woman, based on my understanding, her character is about trying to bring peace into the world of men and putting an end to pointless conflict. That's a key element here, pointless conflict. And you'd be hard-pressed to find a more pointless conflict in world history, recent especially, than World War I. Trust me, you can make any argument you want about Vietnam, Korea, war in Iraq, forget it all. World War I, completely pointless. You can at least kind of make justifications for those other ones. Vietnam and Korea were part of the Cold War, about stopping the expansion of communism. War in Iraq, we were looking for Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. But World War I, the only reason it happened, and I'm saying this as a history buff, is the only reason it happened is because people wanted it to happen. Tensions have been rising for years, and the countries of Europe were just looking for an excuse to fight. And if it hadn't been the assassination of that chancellor, it would have been something else. Trust me. They would have done anything. I could have taken, here, if I just took this object and did that in front of an English person or a German person at that time and said, ha ha, that would have probably been enough to justify a war. And after that you had all sorts of unwinnable battles within that war being fought, Gallipoli and so on and so forth. And so, when it stopped, it was pretty much just because the world leaders who were fighting in it said, I'm sick of this. Let's have a peace conference, and let's screw over Germany while we're at it. And when you think about it, the way World War I was handled at the end is directly responsible for World War II, which was even worse. I mean, good lord. So, yeah, setting this character in World War I think has a lot of storytelling potential. Granted, I know the odds are more in favor of it just being an aesthetic. Just so they can say, look, we're totally not ripping off Captain America, okay? Completely different war, completely different setting for our superhero wearing red, white, and blue. Or red, gold, and blue, but you get the idea. So, and it wouldn't take much to push it into just being another World War II movie, even though it's set in World War I. Because Hollywood only cares about World War II and Vietnam. Those are the only wars they ever focus on, trust me. When you watch enough war movies, you figure that out. And you can say that there are other movies set in other historical wars. It doesn't matter. They still make it about World War II and Vietnam. Remember that Mel Gibson movie, The Patriot, and that one scene where the British commander ordered the entire population of a town into a church and then ordered the church set on fire? That did happen, but it happened in World War II. So, yeah, think about that. That was the Revolutionary War, American Revolution, and they made it about World War II. Or MASH, technically about the Korean War. By the end of the series, I don't know why they were still pretending, because it was clearly Vietnam. So they could really go with the whole World War I setting. They might not. I don't care either way. I'll be happy if they go somewhere with it, but if it's just set dressing, it still looks like it'll be a good movie. So I'm really looking forward to Wonder Woman. And that may as well segue us into Justice League, which this isn't really a trailer per se. It's more just a little thing they slapped together, pardon the automobile. It's something they slapped together so they would have something to tease us. I don't even know if it really qualifies as a teaser per se, because there's not really a whole lot in it that's like giving us anything. Not really much in terms of plot, at least not that we couldn't already guess. Not much in terms of big special effects pieces, but it does give us our first look at Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman, which is the primary selling point, I think. And again, I think that does look like it'll be interesting. They're definitely going different with Aquaman. They are playing him completely serious, which I think will probably shock a lot of people. It shocked some of the people I've shown it to, because Aquaman is seen as a more flamboyant character, or even worse, a very useless character. Because most people are still familiar with the Super Friends version, whose ability to talk to fish did nothing when fighting the Legion of Doom. So this guy looks like he's actually gonna be someone you don't want to mess with. And that's a good thing. Aquaman is actually a pretty good superhero. I almost said supervillain, but superhero. Flash, I know people are going to be upset. I've already heard people saying that they're clearly trying to rip off Spider-Man with him. Seems almost like, even though he's named Barry Allen, they're kind of drawing a lot from the Wally West version, who is the younger, more rambunctious version, started out as Kid Flash. I don't mind personally, because those sort of changes happen all the time, and they happen in movies that people like. If you don't believe me, pick up any comic book featuring the Guardians of the Galaxy that was released before the movie, and compare it to how they're portrayed in the movie. Very different, trust me. Quite a few of them are very, very different from the movie version, but nobody cared. People love that movie. I love that movie. So, and he's gonna introduce a more lighthearted side to things, and people have been saying they need a more lighthearted atmosphere in the DC movies, so yeah, I'm gonna save any sort of judgment on it until I actually see more of it, because we only see one scene with him. Cyborg we see the least of, and I still don't understand why they felt the need to move him to the Justice League when he was part of the Teen Titans, but oh well. Like I said, we see the least of him. All he really does is say he didn't think Batman was real, which, talk about irony. The Cyborg, who is literally made of alien technology for the most part, doesn't believe that the regular guy who wears a mask was real. Seems like it'll be interesting, though. He does look a little... I've heard people say he looks kind of like the Michael Bay Transformers. I can sort of see the influence. I don't think it's a direct thing. Like I said, we'll have to wait and see more. But I'm still thinking Justice League will be good. When we get an actual proper trailer and not just a little meet the heroes kind of highlight reel, I think we'll be able to give a better assessment. Sticking with the topic of superheroes, second trailer for Doctor Strange is out. I never reacted to the first one, but I feel better reacting to the second one, because it gives us more of an idea of what the movie's going to be about. And like every Marvel movie so far, it looks like it's going to be really good. In fact, at the very least, I think this is going to be the coolest looking one since Guardians. Guardians at least had... because Guardians had the whole cosmic aspect. It was in a completely different part of the galaxy, so they could make entire cities and areas of space that we'd never seen before. Doctor Strange is still set on Earth, but what they're doing with it is so crazy, and it looks like they're going to introduce full-on magic. If not like actual literal sorcery, like old medieval Camelot kind of stuff, then at the very least it's gonna be like that whole idea that magic is just science we don't get yet, kind of like with Thor, but crazier. So it'll be a visual treat, certainly. Benedict Cumberbatch is usually good at anything he's in. I mean, even in Star Trek Into Darkness, which I literally just filmed a reaction to and I spent a good amount of time bashing that movie, he still technically gave a good performance. It was a wasted good performance, but a good performance all the same. So the costume looks good too, have to say. It's not as crazy as it gets in the comics, especially the collar. Like, I was thinking, how are they gonna do the collar? Because it's like full of weird sweeping shapes that just look kind of silly even in a comic book. So how would they do it in the movie? They've toned it down though. It's just like a more traditional collar for the cape. And it looks like Doctor Strange. And it's gonna be fun, I think. It's a Marvel movie. Marvel's been hitting it out of the park pretty much consistently. I think the only movies people ever really said they didn't like was The Incredible Hulk, when all is said and done. But, and Iron Man 2, but I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, Doctor Strange looks like it'll be good. The one I'm kind of excited for, but no one else I know seems to really care about, is Kong Skull Island. We finally got the trailer for that. And the reason I'm excited is because it's tying into the legendary Godzilla movies, as some of you may or may not know, because they're building up to King Kong versus Godzilla being remade. So this is going to be the official retelling. Possibly. I don't know if it'll be like in the 2014 Godzilla where they make references to Skull Island being discovered in 1933 or something. Because it looks like they kind of already know the characters already, at least some of the characters already know that Skull Island is there and why they're going there. We don't see all that much of Kong himself, but that's very similar to the Godzilla trailers that we got. And yet again, I find myself wondering why they're obscuring Kong as much as they are. Like, we either see only fleeting glimpses of him, or he's cast almost in silhouette, so you can't really tell too much. And that seems kind of silly to me because it's King Kong. He's always looked like a giant gorilla. How much could they change? They're making him more humanoid, sure, but they did that with the King Kong versus Godzilla version, because it was a guy in a suit, and in the 1970s Paramount version, and with this figure right here. This is an official King Kong figure. He's humanoid here. Actually, they're also making him bigger, and he'll probably be to scale with this figure, the Godzilla one, if I had to guess. Because they're saying he's going to be the biggest Kong so far. I don't quite believe it because they're only saying so far that he's at 100 feet, which still puts him just shy of the one from King Kong versus Godzilla, the original. But, oh well, I'll let them have their pipe dream and I'll let other people tear it down. It still looks like it'll be good, though. It seems like in this shared universe they're building, Godzilla was the introduction. Skull Island is going to be expanding on it more because they're going to really be going into more detail about the world of monsters that existed before the world of man, that Kong and Godzilla would have been a part of. And interestingly, Kong is the only monster we see evidence of. Like, alive at least. There are a lot of skeletons, including dinosaurs and presumably other Kongs. I assume there are going to be more, though. There's gotta be something more than just King Kong there. I have that feeling. Because you have the soldiers attacking unseen enemies coming from multiple sides. There's gotta be something else. And the rumors are even circulating that Skull Island will be this universe's version of Monster Island eventually. So that would even make sense there. So, yeah, I am looking forward to it. I'm hoping it'll be as good as not the original. It's gonna be different from the original. I don't know if it'll even be worth comparing. But I definitely think I hope it will be as good as the legendary Godzilla. Might be better, I don't know. We might even get more monster stuff. But yeah, I seem to be the only person who's really looking forward to that movie of the people I know. And that brings us to a couple movies that I'm kind of surprised. Both of them are remakes, and I'm surprised they are even being remade. Because they shouldn't be remade, but for completely different reasons. First up, I've seen the trailers for Ben-Hur. I cannot understand why they're remaking Ben-Hur. Because Ben-Hur, I always assumed, was one of those movies you don't touch. It's like Casablanca or Citizen Kane, or one of those movies, Gone with the Wind, that are in a league all their own. They are the ones held up above all others, and you don't remake them because they're already considered to be as close to perfect as films can get. Whether or not they are is an individual assessment, but they're still in that category, and I thought Ben-Hur was one of those, so it would never get remade. I'm wrong, apparently. Someone decided to remake it. And I don't know why, especially since it looks mostly like it's just Gladiator 2, Electric Boogaloo. Like, the first trailer didn't even show any signs that Jesus is in it. And actually, if all you know about Ben-Hur is the chariot race thing, Ben-Hur is actually a movie about, it's almost a Christian film. The subtitle that no one ever uses is A Story of the Christ, and how big a part that plays in some of the major events of Judah Ben-Hur's life. I'm sorry about the cars going by. I don't know if you can hear them or not. The second trailer did show more of that aspect, but it still doesn't quite feel like they're really getting it. I don't know. It just seems wrong to me that they're remaking Ben-Hur. And why is no one complaining about this? I'm really sorry about the cars. I don't know if you can even hear them, but I need to soundproof this place even better than it already is. But still, remaking Ben-Hur, why? And why is no one upset? We got upset when Ghostbusters was being remade, but not when Ben-Hur? Nobody seems to care with this one? Am I the only one who thinks that's backwards? With Ghostbusters, say what you want about it, I don't care. At least it looked like they were actually remaking the original in tone, or at least trying to. This, like I said, it looks more like Gladiator than it does Ben-Hur. And it just feels wrong that they're remaking it at all. I don't know, maybe it'll be a surprise, but I don't know. Why does no one else seem to care? Someone tell me. And the other movie I'm surprised is being remade, because I don't think it should be remade, is the Blair Witch Project. I learned about that mere moments before I started doing this, in fact. This very video. They're remaking it. And they shouldn't, but for completely different reasons. Not because it's a good movie, because it isn't. The original Blair Witch, really not a good movie when you get right down to it. But it was a success. Why is it a success? Because it tricked us, basically. When it came out, it billed itself as being 100% real. And people bought it, or at the very least, some people bought it, enough that there could be a debate. Well, was it real or wasn't it real? I don't know. Well, there's this evidence here, but I haven't seen the actors before, and I don't think they're popping up anywhere. Or no interviews. It came out just at that time when the internet wasn't quite the database, the go-to database that it is considered these days. So not as many people were fact-checking, and therefore there was more speculation. People were pointing to the legend of the Blair Witch, which was completely ridiculous because there was no legend of the Blair Witch. But that's what made it a success. It took us by surprise, claimed to be real, and because it was made with almost no money in the budget, it came across as more realistic. They didn't have the big bombastic special effects that you could look at and say, oh, that's CGI, or that's a person in makeup or something. a lot of people did think it was real when they saw it. You can't pull that same trick again, especially not in this day and age where anyone can go on the internet and see, oh, it's not real, or they can just as easily say, well, it's a found footage movie. Found footage is a genre now. So this remake can't rely on that. So the way they're going about it appears to be that they're not trying to remake Blair Witch. They're trying to remake Paranormal Activity outside. Because the Paranormal Activity movies sure didn't overstay their welcome, right? Yeah, I don't know why that exists, but it does. The movies I mentioned before, though, before those two, they look good. So those are just my random thoughts. I'm curious to know what all of you think. So leave a comment, do whatever you want to respond, and we'll see what happens when we get more information or when these movies eventually come out. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off.